Close the door. Hello, friends. We made it.
Yep.
We made it
We
post
survived the
hurricane.
hurricane.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh. Yeah. We were just talking about the what do you call it? You want to just call it hurricane hangover? Oh my gosh.
It
And you
is.
just fixed your hair. Your hair looks better than a minute ago.
No, I just hid it. It's no longer in frame.
Oh my goodness. Thanks, Jonah. Thanks for saving the day. He turned on the light for me. He tried to be stealth. He's my behind the scenes production manager.
Nice.
Anyways, oh my gosh. Yeah, no, we got lucky. Tallahassee got lucky that this hurricane did not hit us directly. I don't know why. I still forced myself to publish 2 newsletters last week, but I really wanted to get it out.
No, it's good. It's good. Like this is a commitment. Like when things are happening, we know we're potentially gonna lose electricity and whatnot, and there's like all of the hurricane prep and stuff. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it was nice. Like even the newsletter, I think it was very informative and whatnot, and a lot of big events were happening in Tallahassee last week. Like it's not
yeah,
just in between the hurricane, between the game, big game. Everyone is excited, and it looks like it's going to be an exciting football season as well.
yeah. They actually did well. They against all odds, they beat the experts' predictions.
No, it's
And
going to
then
be a good year.
yeah, and okay, well, the other thing too is they went up in rankings, and I am going to talk about this in the next newsletter, which is going to be scheduled tomorrow morning. AP rankings had them, well, at least what I know is that the rankings were at 8. Now AP rankings bumped them up to top 5, the 5th place
Whoa.
for top 25 in the country.
Yeah, I know it was 8, and I know LSU at that point in time was 5.
Right.
So that's a big jump. Already 8 is high on the ranking. So
Yeah, I mean it's higher than it's ever been for the last, I don't know, 5 years. I'm not the expert here. I'm not the football expert here, but I know in general they weren't doing well since the transition, with the last year or so of Jimbo Fisher, and then when he moved, then the transition. It's always hard when you inherit that kind of, you can say, hot mess, and then you have to revamp everything and fix everything. So kudos to Mike Norvell. And you know what? FAMU also won, which was so it's a big weekend for Tallahassee, even though we had the hurricane aiming for us, like at the last, I don't know, we can look to the experts and see what the actual time factor was, but it was aiming for Tallahassee. Like I checked they have like forecast, updates, I think within a few hour time span, and then as of 5 a.m., I saw that it was heading towards us, and then like 7 a.m. It just kind of made a shift.
yeah.
And so, you see what you saw. Like, if for anyone who looks at the video footage, you'll see the flooding in the coast, in Keaton Beach and everything. But then you don't see much about the inland damage that Hurricane Idalia caused. And my family got to see it firsthand only because we drove to Jacksonville, and anyone who drove to Orlando for the game saw it on the way on I-10. So within 15, 20 minutes of driving I-10, leaving Tallahassee, you'll start to see huge trees trimmed up. If
Whoa.
you're on the left lane, you could see the stems of these trees cut literally up to the emergency lane. So you had to make sure your car wouldn't hit any trees driving on I-10. So it was actually hundreds, if not thousands, of trees that were down. And so
Whoa.
looking at that in retrospect, I was like, oh my goodness, if it really did hit Tallahassee, or at least like St. Mark's Trail, they say if it hits St. Mark's, Tallahassee, you're in for it. And
Mm.
that's what I read among the weather experts, Weather Tiger. Shout out to Dr. Ryan Trisho, that's how he pronounced his name. But they said, if it hits St. Mark's, then Tallahassee's going to have like major damage. And so we were really spared. It hit Keaton Beach. Perry was hit really hard, and Suwannee County, hundreds, like lots of farm land was damaged, and 5 million chickens were estimated to be killed because of the hurricane. Like, these are interesting facts that I learned just doing my research. And they haven't even fully evaluated the billions of dollars that it's probably going to cost, as far
Mm,
as recovery goes. Hurricanes cost a
yeah.
lot of money.
And there's a new one coming on the way.
I heard, which I which I need to add. I heard there's a tropical storm headed in our direction again,
Yeah.
right?
It's coming from the Atlantic, so hopefully it's not in the Gulf. I don't
Yeah.
know, but again, I'm not the expert. It's still they're saying it will take until mid next week to really know if it's heading towards
Hmm.
Florida or not and where exactly. But yeah, it is the
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. So you ended up, just in case, like, which I think is always better safe than sorry, you ended up leaving because in case we do lose power, which we did with Hurricane Hermine and Hurricane Matthew, I remember years ago.
Yeah, I had to leave. I had a live stream actually that was scheduled weeks in advance, and there was like three guests, and I knew if I delayed it, it would have been very difficult to reschedule it again. And it was part of a bigger launch of our sports newsletter that I told you about and whatnot. So I really had to make a choice whether to stay and risk losing electricity and internet or leave. So I left the night before just to go there, make sure that I had internet the next day at noon, and came back. But yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
I
wanted to
think
leave.
apparently we did not lose. We did not lose power, or if we did, we lost it just for a few hours. That was it.
Same here. We got lucky. We lost the power for maybe a couple hours. I was expecting it to happen the night before. I was expecting a lot of things because we've already experienced, Hurricane Hermine was at category 1 and the winds were relatively strong. And so even though the hurricane shifted to the east and more south, I was still paranoid because it was category 3 and it
Mm.
was still pretty strong. And by the time it hit, I was like bracing for a bunch of trees falling over in our area. We have a ton of trees in our neighborhood, and Tallahassee, for that matter, just has so many trees. And then what makes it kind of crazy because Hermine, we lost power longer than the typical Central Florida city or South Florida city would, because they're used to category 4 or 5 hitting them and they don't lose power for that long. For us, we lost power for a week, some cases 2-3 weeks with Hurricane Hermine at category 1. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be horrible, this is gonna be torture, but we're gonna sit this one out and see what it's like. And I was like, that's it. When it passed through, I was like, that's it. We barely, saw anything come through, didn't saw gusts of wind, but I was thankful, it wasn't as
Yeah,
scary as I was imagining it to be. But now, like, after driving through and seeing all the damage that it and seeing the news about the damage that it caused in all the small towns that hit, literally in between Gainesville and us, we were really lucky.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, we're definitely thankful.
yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's amazing job on sending out the newsletters. I think I'm getting a lot of comments on that the content is good. I think people are loving the content, and I like how it's condensed and whatnot. So I think we're on good track when it comes to content. I don't know. What do you think? Have you heard any feedback?
Yeah, I mean, people are seeing our shows. People are saying, "Oh, I saw your interview with City Clips that, your co-founder when you guys were talking. I happened to see it. I get this notification every time you go live." So, every day, literally anytime I'm out in the public, people say, "Oh, I saw that you had a live the other day and that you launched something." So, the frequency of the show is more often than all my other lives. And also there's more views on our lives for some reason than my other lives.
Maybe it's because we're talking about a concrete project and actually building it. Because remember, we started these even before the launch, and now we're launching, and now we're like almost troubleshooting the different things that we can do. And now we're going to be talking about how to grow it and whatnot. And I think that's
Yeah.
exciting because
I think also because we're in peak hours, like a lot of social media users are on in the evening versus like actually, and then we reshare. People are also interested in seeing, like you said, like the growth and our troubleshooting tactics. But the other thing too, I think is neat about the content is because literally this takes me hours to research, and I'm realizing now the pattern is it takes me, 3 to 4 hours with the first one. The second one is nice because, like, I could reuse some things that I feel like can be shared in the second one, and it's a little faster. But, like, for someone to read and skim through and just, catch in 5 minutes or, maybe 7 minutes, maybe if you want. Or if you read the long articles with the links, then it's saving them hours of having to
definitely
sift
this
through
is
all
the
of it.
value, and this is the absolute amazing value of newsletter that we found out that people keep telling us. Like, if you imagine what is happening with social media and the internet today, everyone is trying to take more from your time. Like, Twitter is trying to keep you for hours. TikTok is trying to keep you for hours. Instagram is trying to keep you because the more you stay, the more ads you will see, the more revenue they will make. And so this is really becoming a problem for everyone. And what we're trying is to do the opposite. Okay, if you will need 3 hours to go and research relevant stuff to you in Tallahassee, we're going to do that, and we're going to give you the condensed version that you read in 5 minutes. So it is selective news. It is not everything that is happening around you, which is too much, and probably you don't need to know all of that. Yeah,
Which
so I
reminds
think
me,
this is our value proposition, and as long as we keep delivering on that, as long as we keep delivering on value adding news, then we have a product.
I came up, well, more inspiration from listening to newsletter experts too, because I know we were talking about different headlines for our billboard, or at
Hmm.
least, as a theme for our campaign. I think we should say something along the lines of like business news without all the BS.
But then you're limiting us to business news, which is
Well,
not
yeah,
like
I just don't want to be like all inclusive news because I guess it could be um, the newsletter or business and tech news without all the BS. Because one thing that I've noticed that I run into is like looking through all these articles, looking through the posts, is there's so many ads. It's so cluttered. These articles have like random links throughout the reading, and it's just so distracting and jarring. And I'm just sick and tired of going to these websites looking at all these dumb sponsored ads.
yeah.
And so, like, that's a problem that we're solving, I think, is that we're not only saving people time, it's just you don't have to deal with these random ads.
I agree about the BS
Yeah.
point. So it is news without the BS. Now I don't know if I will agree completely with saying it's business news without the BS for two reasons. If we do have this on a billboard, it might alienate anyone else who is not interested in business news. For example, if someone wants only sports news, it's we almost alienated that. Although we will be talking about sports, like where to buy the tickets, like recent headline, not necessarily analytics of sport. But so it is more general news. I think it's about news relevant for Tallahassee without the BS, or condensed news for Tallahassee without the BS, or so it is.
Yeah.
But I liked what you suggested before. What was it in the previous live? What was it? It was
Oh, let me pull it up. But the other thing too, which because I remember you last week we planned on talking about growth tactics and
yeah.
outreach. And so because we had to reschedule thanks to Dahlia. So let's also try to cover that too while I
No,
pull that up.
definitely. Yeah, let's go. I think there's at least three that I took notes of. So definitely, we're still working on the campaign. So we want to launch the campaign once we're happy with picking the locations for the billboards and agreeing on the messages that we want to put on the billboards. And let's go and try this out. So this is one. But second, a lot of things that can happen since we're talking about Tallahassee newsletter. So events and communities in Tallahassee and how we can link with these communities that are already there. So Women Wednesday is one. I don't know. Have you talked to Barbara about like
So much for
marketing?
the traffic.
Yeah.
Talking about traffic, and it's so much for avoiding background traffic after moving my laptop. Um, thank you, Gloria. Um, that'll be a blooper. That'll be part of the blooper. Do you have
Yeah.
any ants today, Ollie? Last 2 weeks ago, he kept looking down. He's like getting bitten by ants, right?
Yeah.
You didn't even tell me. It's like, I didn't even
Yeah.
notice. You're the one who kept looking down. I was like, is that his daughter? I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I didn't realize it was ants. There was an ant infestation under me. I don't know, maybe one of the kids dropped something and I don't know, and there was
Candy.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to the billboard. Oh yeah, because I said something about because old news is boring and slow or something.
Yeah,
You
because
like
old news
that?
is boring, so this is why we've launched City Clips.
Yeah.
So this is one, and about Women Wednesday. Are you thinking about? Are you gonna have a session where you're gonna talk about newsletters to Barbara?
Yes. Featured partner of the month. Thanks to last month's launch tally for pioneering the way and really being the first of the first of many, which to me means a lot. So Eddie, thank you so much for always supporting small businesses and startups. And now for September, Barbara, founder of Women Wednesdays, is happy to be the partner of the month. So thank you so much. Shout out to Women Wednesdays. So we'll highlight really cool things about Women Wednesdays throughout the month. And then, yeah, so I just wanted to mention that. And then Ollie, since my daughter is still hanging out over here, I want you to still go ahead and talk about like the 3 things you were wanting to talk about, the growth tactics. And
Yeah,
I do have another headline for the billboard, but I'll let you talk first, and then I'll talk
yeah.
about.
I
We'll
wanted to
go
ask about
circle back.
Fun for Tally. So I think we did communicate with Fun for Tally, and I think they provided a couple of options that were potentially good. I think, but most of the options that they provided were on their website, which while I think probably it has a lot of traffic, I have no doubt, and maybe that traffic is good, but I think from our experience, what we saw was the most effective element of advertising online was actually on email, on other newsletters. So, and they did not
Cool.
mention the option of placement on their newsletter. And I think this is the key question that probably I wanted to ask, like how much, or this is where we're interested in being, even if the reaches is much smaller, but we want that because that is our audience, the audience that follows you on your email, the audience that is looking to receive information over email. That is going to be the best fit for us, and this is probably where we're going to see the most convergence to
That's
subscriber.
that's awesome. No, that's great because it's funny to me because I know there's a lot of really great community-based type of platforms that are nonprofit, but they have a good email list, and they don't
Mm.
realize the value of that email list. Like they don't even charge. I've been asking just out of curiosity on their media kits, do they even indicate total subscribers on their email list? They don't even include it as
Mm.
part of their media kit. So I'd love to send this to them and just highlight like what you think as a valuable proposition
No, but they're
for
going to pump the
newsletter.
prices. I don't think do that. Give, give them the advice
No, I know.
after they place
No,
silly
no,
clips
I know.
over
But
there.
you don't need to talk about like because everyone is going to have a different pricing model, right? But
Yeah.
um, but it's funny to me that they don't even try to include that as part of their offerings.
Um, Email has always been seen, or at least to many businesses, as a place where you market, but it's not necessarily a product that you can make revenues out of. Not necessarily. So a lot of people, even media organizations that have a lot of content, sometimes they used email just to drive traffic to the website. But you can just at least tell them what you wanted from the email. You didn't have to take them to the website. Like you're gonna lose some people with that friction, like with every additional step that you ask.
Right.
And yeah, just so email, and people are naturally on their emails because they're doing their work. Sometimes they're sending stuff, whether it's school stuff, work stuff. So everyone is on their email. You might as well just give them what they need on the email itself. And that is a product. If you really take good care of it, it's going to grow, it's going to have engaged audience, and maybe you, yeah, as long as you do it really carefully, you can it can become a source of revenue for you in different ways. Um, a lot of businesses probably do not notice that or did not notice that, and they already started it as a marketing platform, so they continued to use it as a marketing tactic, and it never changed into a product for them. And the same for Fun for Tally. Like they did mention that their newsletter has so much or has so many readers. I don't remember the number; it was in thousands, but it wasn't even mentioned as an option that if I wanted to advertise on their newsletter, this is how much it costs. For me, email is the most interesting spot out of all of the options that they have, and the same thing will happen to like Tallahassee foodies, whatever media, whatever community we want to tap into in Tallahassee. I think we should focus on being on their newsletter more than anything else. It's not. I don't want to just be randomly on the website and on I don't know what. I know the conversions that we get. Our audience is on email. We want your audience that is on email.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So, and then speaking of another opportunity, because they have a decent email list, it is Teltech. Do you know how Teltech has a upcoming event, which I'm including in this week's newsletter? They actually have this event every year. It's going to be at least 200 attendees, and
Oh, no.
it's uh, even though that's not a huge audience per se, it's the tech companies that have huge teams. So they might have like one team, each like let's say for example, well, even if it's not just anyways, those people who are paying attention to the tech sector in Tallahassee, some of them have 100 teams, some of them have 200 teams, you know,
Mm.
team members. And so it's still to me
I
valuable
agree, and it's
opportunity.
just not it's not just the numbers; it's the value of these readers. Like usually, tech companies and tech employees, they're so plugged in within many communities, but also like usually that is the kind of audience that a lot of businesses will want to advertise to. And they have uh, higher purchasing power. There is a chance that they would, like as a business, you want to advertise more and more to segments with higher purchasing power. Um, they will just buy at uh, a higher average of basket value from your business and whatnot. So actually, this is always interesting for sponsors. One of the key things that our sponsors look for in our newsletter is that many of the readers, not necessarily how big the number is, but it's about that many of our readers are decision makers in different sectors. So consulting companies, legal companies, fintech companies are interested in sponsoring the newsletter because of that, because of the influence that the readers have. So even when you say there's 200 people attending Caltech, no, but that's a very important community. If you think about tech companies globally, their number of employees compared to their impact is very small. Like they're probably their employees in the thousands, but they reach out to audiences in the billions. So talk about scale of impact and scale of reach. Um, so their value is really high.
Yeah.
200, even like converting 100 or 50 of them to subscribers in our newsletter is going to have huge value. So yes,
Hmm.
definitely. Let's tap more into these communities.
Yeah, because I reached out to them to see if there's like a tabling opportunity. So they are letting me know about certain rates and everything like that. So I can tell you later. I know they don't have it publicized yet, but um, I will show you those numbers and then see what you end up ultimately deciding. And then we'll see. I mean, I think it would be great to be able to speak at the conference too.
This is definitely interesting. I think there is an opportunity to speak about newsletters and about city clips in general in many of these conferences. Like if you do this on Women Wednesday, because you're very familiar with the setup and whatnot, maybe you can start over there. But then we can take out this talk about to different places, including Caltech, including, I don't know, when Startup Week happens, or when, I don't know, somewhere in relevant events at FSU, at FAMU, wherever. But the idea is we can have this talk and actually start to preach about newsletters and their importance and whatnot. And like we said from the beginning of this live, like we believe in the value of newsletters, not just as a business opportunity, but as impact to the community, and like providing valuable information at without really being taking over people's lives and people's time. So um, we encourage others to do newsletters that are specialized in their fields, and we're willing to help when it comes to that. So just educating about that and making that information out there, I think, is part of something good that we can do to our community. But then as well, we can also talk to them about Tallahassee Clips, um, how we think it's valuable. They can subscribe to it and whatnot. Speaking of Tallahassee Clips, and it's the first time that I say this instead of City Clips, how about at least for now we change the sender from City Clips to Tallahassee Clips? Uh,
Yeah, I
mm,
like that idea, having more of a localized brand. I mean, at least we have that umbrella, and then it's just like TLH clips. I mean, because that was our plan eventually, to just
yeah.
have, you know.
Yes. Yeah, and for now, since basically we're focusing on Tallahassee for now, we don't really know when are we gonna go to the next ones, because we're still learning about what is the scale of growth gonna be like, and then before we go to other cities. So, but for now, I think it will make the email more distinct when people look at it, because the first thing you look at is the sender, and then the second thing you look at is the subject line. So at least we can stand out with the sender by mentioning Tallahassee.
I wanted to feature that Alyssa had a great question, and I have another follow-up question too. So how much would you pay to be featured on a nonprofit newsletter with a sponsor price be based on the number of subscribers? That's a good question. It really depends. I mean, I know you like a broad audience, Ali, especially since it's like a local, um, we want to be a local source. And
Mm.
so the in I guess to pair my question with that is, are you starting to get some kind of feel for who our actual target audience is? Because it really ultimately depends as who is our main target audience.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to get an idea because,
Mm,
like, college students, for example, every time I speak to them, they don't really check their emails.
mhm, mm,
They're getting younger. This audience is just really young. And as they get into the professional world, that's when they check emails more often. That's where, they're checking it for work. So I think it's the young professional to the young, or the, Gen X entrepreneur. Like, I don't know if that's too small of a span. What do you think?
yeah. No, I agree. It's the workforce, starting with young professionals. This is when you're really engaged with your emails. So basically, and this is our audience, and I can see that this is the audience that is engaged and whatnot. And by the way, I love this because this audience is always very interesting for advertisers, because these are decision makers. These are people who are working with purchasing power and whatnot. Like I said, so usually whenever you're advertising on the internet, if you're going online, you're going to go on video specifically, you're going for the masses. But the masses, you don't know necessarily about purchasing power and whatnot, and the more it's diluted, the more you will get a mix of everything. While on the other hand, when you go to specific newsletters, you're going to go to a smaller audience, but there is a much higher focus, and then you will know where you're going to hit exactly, and what value are you going to get. To answer the question about how much would people pay for sponsorships for newsletters, for whether it's nonprofit or not, it is about two aspects. It's about the number of the audience, but also it's about the quality or the type of the audience, not just the number of the audience. So Nonprofit in general is a very generic word, because what is it about exactly? Like, I know nonprofits that are about literature, and I know other nonprofits that are about supporting businesses and nonprofit. So I don't think it has to do
Yeah.
with whether it's nonprofit or for profit. I think it has to do with the sector, and then according to the sector, you will have who are the readers of that sector, and then accordingly, this is how it will be priced. There is a very good report by Trends by the Hustle, talking about the whole industry of newsletters and how do newsletters make money and how much
I
money
saw
do
that
they,
too.
yeah, and how much money do they make and how many ads do they place in every newsletter and how do you calculate how much do you get in return. So there's a lot to say about this. It's not really a straightforward kind of number, because it has to do with um, the value of the subscriber is reduced with the bigger number of subscribers. Let me say this. For example, with us, we have one of our newsletters is about 30,000 or 40,000 subscribers. We Our sponsorship rates is quite high per subscriber compared to other newsletters that go out to 100 or 500,000 subscribers, but they're a bit less specialized, or the audience is more generic. So this is just an example. And if you want a more concrete example, one of the highest revenue generating newsletters globally, it's mentioned in the report, is I think one about one of the fast cars. I think it's a newsletter about for Ferrari owners, or fans. I think it only has like 2,000 subscribers, but it makes like $2 million a year.
I think it was like Rolls Royce. I think you told me,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah, so
One of those
yeah, so
luxury
one
brands.
very premium brand of cars, but very small number of audience, very high revenue. And this is because you can tell, like, basically, even if it's only 2,000 people, but we're talking about like placement in front of the eyes of these 2,000 is can be very important for many advertisers. So again, it's about selecting the industry. It's about and once you select the industry and you start to send out content in a consistent way, you will start to build the audience that you will know their demographics and whatnot, and you will have sponsors for these demographics. But again, the equation will be decided at that point in time.
Yeah, and I would say in Alyssa's case, I know because she works with Junior Achievement. That's a pretty good. It's a national network,
Yep.
and who knows? Maybe they have a good email list. And depending on, like, if you kind of get an idea of who's actually opening your email, get a survey. What's the demographic like? Because I'm thinking, businesses are interested in learning more about junior achievement because they also have volunteer speakers for their programs. So just knowing that a little bit, like, okay, you're going to get exposure to some businesses. And what do those businesses look like? Oh, you got Fortune 500 businesses volunteering and sending people to speak for your platform. That's kind of interesting too. So it's, just explaining the value behind your subscriber list and your audience will really help bump up the interest factor, right?
Junior achievers specifically, I really think can be really, really good. First of all, being nonprofit, this always encourages sponsors. It doesn't discourage them. This is one. But second of all, because junior achievers is all about financial education for young adults and whatnot, maybe you will find out that some banks want to be in the minds of these young kids as they're growing up, and they want to have that brand affinity. Because once you actually choose a bank, it's very unlikely that you switch. It's one of the highest switching costs in business, that we call. So no one changes their bank. So you might find banks that will want to sponsor your newsletter. And I don't know, maybe if you choose, it's a weekly newsletter where you share something, some exercise about financial education for kids in every week, and you start to have some engagement, and some parents are signed up and some kids are signed up. All of a sudden you might find a bank that is willing to sponsor it for a year.
And
um,
she's saying she's agreeing too. She's totally in agreement that they work with a lot of bigger companies, who work in finance, community leaders, and education. Yeah, no, this is great. And Oh, that's a great idea, Ollie. That's great input. And so
Finance has been some of our best sponsors. They have lots of money. So no, but not only that, they actually want to engage. There is very high competition. They're very they want their brands. They want their brand out there. They want people to engage. And the good thing about newsletters is people read emails it's not the same as listening to podcasts. You can listen to a podcast while you're driving, and even if you hear an advertisement that is interesting, it's very difficult to engage with it immediately because you're driving. So you will not be able to click on it or anything. But on the other hand, with email newsletters, you're reading it either on your phone or on the computer, and you can immediately, if an advertiser or a sponsor catches your eye, you can immediately click on it and learn about it more, or subscribe, or so there is a higher level of engagement with the sponsorship, with the sponsors on newsletters, and this is always interesting for sponsors.
I mean, in your case too, Alyssa, or if you're working with your marketing person, you can come up with, I mean, this is a great business development opportunity where, it's not just sponsorships for events. Like you can include, this is what we'll include for featuring your brand in front of, you know, this many people. So that's just another factor for people who might want to sponsor an event or whatever it is that you want to add more value to. So I think this is just a great opportunity. And it's funny because it's not like people taught me how to do any kind of outreach. It's just, I guess maybe it's because I just like to spread the word about these great opportunities. And so one of the things, because I know that's one of the topics for tonight, that people fall short as far as closing the gap in closing business is that people don't follow up. It's amazing to me that people, I don't know if it's a generational thing or it's just like people are so distracted now, but following up is one of the biggest reasons why I close business. And so, and half the time when people don't follow up with me, I don't like I forget about that opportunity, or if they didn't follow up, then I'm like, why should I even continue to work with them if they're
Mm.
not following up with me? You see what I mean? In reverse, it's the same thing. Like I'm sure there's several reasons why somebody didn't get back to you, but if you're trying to close the gap and getting, business, getting that sponsorship, or trying to get somebody to sponsor a newsletter, that kind of thing. It's really just following up. Like, hey, did you see my email? I'm not sure if you got that, or I'm not sure if you heard about this opportunity. I wanted to let you know. Those kinds of things. Like that's why I included outreach as part of growth.
Yeah, definitely outreach. Okay, so are we gonna have like in terms of communities? Can we put a target on how many communities we would like to reach out to in September, by end of September?
Yeah, yeah. When you say target, are you saying like total people in each
No,
community or
no.
total
I
communities?
think total communities
Okay.
because we don't. Yeah.
I think 10 is realistic. Is that what do you think? Thanks,
Sure.
Alyssa. Thanks
Abs-
for being our audience. She's so
I think anywhere between 5 and 10 is realistic, as long as. But it's not just about connecting with them, but it's about like having our product being viewed, being offered to their audience.
Mhm.
So whether it's Tallahassee foodies, whether it's Fun for Tally and whatnot, we need to close some of these. Whether it's Women Wednesday, Tal Tech, I don't know how many are we going to reach out to, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's going to be. Um,
Yeah,
uh, yeah, that's.
absolutely.
There's also it just occurred to me. Are you familiar with the social media next door neighbor?
Yeah.
So
Next
next door
door?
might be something that we can advertise on because it's for Tallahassee. Because it's all about the neighborhoods in Tallahassee. Like we can target specifically our neighborhoods.
Yeah, I have not looked at rates or anything from there, but I don't know how
It,
pricey.
it just occurred to me. No, but I think if we want to go in terms of importance, maybe we should just start with the communities that we know. This is going to be
Yeah.
unpaid, and actually probably these are going to be the ones that will engage with us first and trust us more because they know us at an individual level, and then we start to go into the more mass kind of advertising, whether it's the billboards and going on social media like next door neighbor and whatnot, and focusing on the Tallahassee audience over there.
Yes. And it's funny because I'm glad you mentioned that because didn't you? I don't know if you caught my email because I shared it a few weeks ago. I had the same idea. It's like, let's just concentrate on outreach first, to save some extra costs and then see what happens. And then after that, then we can do like the mass, I don't know
Yes.
if you want to do mass, mainstream, billboard, things like that because it is kind of pricey.
We will do that for brand equity purposes, for a couple of for conversions and for brand equity. We want people to know that we launched and the brand is out there. So
Hmm.
we will do that, and we don't know if it's pricey or not until we know the conversions. So we will
Right.
understand if it was reasonable or not. But I think it's worth a try. And again, it's very important to do all of these activities early on. We're
Hmm.
already
True.
doing the newsletter. It costs the same to send out the newsletter to a few hundred or a few thousand or a million. So we might as well do it now. We're already doing the effort of doing the newsletter. You don't want to burn the team doing the newsletter and not and delaying the growth for one reason or another.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up too, because I did have a follow-up question a few minutes ago, and my ADD made me lose my. So, as far okay, so one of the things, because I thought about this, and I learned from these newsletter guys, if you try to do like gimmicks, like get people to sign up for your newsletter, but they don't really care about your content, that is not a good tactic because you end up with people who don't open the newsletter. And
Mm.
then, they say your numbers are like going to be skewed. So don't try to use that type of growth tactic. They tried to go that way to growth hack super fast, but they regretted it after. And
Mm.
so one of the ideas that I thought about maybe has to be seniors, because the other communities I was thinking about is these business associations that are, the younger audience, like seniors at FSU and FAMU, because maybe they'll be interested in learning about potential opportunities in town. Because there is a big information gap between students and the community. That's
Mm.
another problem that happens a lot. And so if we were able to be that bridge in a sense.
I don't think the young kids wanna burn that bridge. They don't want a bridge. They don't want nothing to do with us.
They're
They're
gonna
living
move.
in they're living in their own world, and they don't wanna join ours. They only join it when they're forced, when they join the workforce, and then they start opening emails. Oh,
That's true.
I'm an adult now. So dumb.
No,
Okay,
that's
no,
good.
but sorry. Well, in all seriousness, I talking about the emails. I agree. That's why I told you when it came for Fun for Tally. Well, I know that they're almost not pushing us, but actually their normal offering is being placed on their website. I know that this is not necessarily our audience. I know that our audience is on the email, so that's why let's go and find out how much does it cost to be placed on their email newsletter, not on their website, regardless whether it's a banner or on the side or 24
Yeah,
hours or something. Like
I
it's
did follow
irrelevant.
up.
It's about being on the website versus being on the email.
Yeah,
So being on the email, then you will have people who will engage with the email more. This is one. But second of all, even if let's say we did the mistake at one point or another and we did advertise in the wrong channel and we had all of these subscribers who never open up email, we have to clean up the list anyway. Like there is no way, if you don't clean up the list, Google will catch that. We start to go into all kinds of bad folders, like whether it's promotions, whether it's junk. So you don't want that. And cleaning up the email list is always very important. And a lot of things happen. Like some people are engaged in the beginning and then they stop being engaged and whatnot. So you have to start to set up a metric. Who is not engaged? Is it someone who did not open up for a week? Is it someone who did not open up for a month? Is it someone who did not click on anything for 6 months? And then you have to decide. And once you decide on the cutoff, you probably have to go and manually deal with these people. Like, if you say it's 3 months, if someone did not open up any emails from us in 3 months, there's an issue here. You have one of two solutions. Either one, re-engage these people with one email saying, listen, you're on the list. I know probably life is busy and whatnot, but either you open up this email if you want to continue on the list, or click here if you want to continue to be on the list. Otherwise, you will be automatically archived. Or you can just even completely just archive them without even connecting with them. One of two options, but you have to
Yeah.
do one of the. Otherwise, the list becomes unhealthy.
At some point, I mean, because we still have a small list, but we, decent open rate. At what point after, a few months, like at what point when did you start cleaning it up?
Uh, Maybe only after a year.
Okay. Okay. That's helpful.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then it becomes regular. But cleaning up the list is an absolutely important thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, at least two targets. So we're changing to Tallahassee Clips, the sender name.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, we
cool.
still have like the main brand, so we can always just be like, because I was thinking it could be City Clips, dash TLH, but if you
Too
like it
long.
TLH Clips,
Tallahassee.
I
Tallahassee
mean,
Clips. TLH Clips.
wait,
Or
does it, okay, so subject line and everything, like,
not in the subject line, in the sender.
in the center. Okay.
First name, last name.
Yeah.
Tallahassee, first name, Clips, last name.
Okay.
In
Yeah.
MailChimp. And then we have 5 to 10 communities to reach out by the end of September. So hopefully three
Mm-hmm.
communities a week,
Mm-hmm.
maybe.
I mean, which reminds me, I still have my spreadsheet. I had my team update the numbers. I have like close to 90 Facebook groups from Tallahassee
Nice.
and
Okay,
their
we need.
total numbers.
Okay,
So
let's see
I could
what's
see.
our plan with these communities. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna
A
reach?
part of me was thinking, because a lot of these communities that have really big platforms also have great Facebook groups. So I have to see and find out like what we're allowed to, share. So
Cool.
I have to double check. But yeah, then they say the riches are in the niches, so you got to go in the niches.
Yeah.
We're
No.
going niche. So but yeah, no, I'll try to reach out to at least 5. You're frozen for me for some reason, Ollie. That could be a blooper. You froze, bro. I think if you talk, I can hear you, but you could also. Yes, Alyssa. I see that you're saying, y'all, I need to be added to your list. Thank you. Yes, we'll reach out to you for sure. Ali, hop out, and then you can hop back in. Wonder if I can actually kick you out. Yeah. Um. Oops. Okay. Let's see what happens. We'll see if he actually joins. I'll give him a few seconds, guys. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this recording. I'm gonna chat with Ali behind the scenes. I know who knows, maybe his internet is acting wonky. We did say that we're gonna talk about like the other billboard that the headline that I was thinking about is something along the lines of like, we go down the rabbit hole for you or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe it's just better if it's more direct. Let me know if you happen to catch this recording, if you have any feedback before we actually pull the plug. We have about a month or so to yeah, seriously, Alyssa, I know. And we have about a month before we actually start broadcasting or launching that campaign. There's Ali. Yeah, he's back. And I think he's
Through my phone.
frozen.
Q.
Okay,
It's the new hurricane, Julia. I think that's what it is. No,
you're
I
back.
lost internet again.
Has it impacted you? Like, it looks like it's
Okay,
freezing you.
خلاص. I
I
give
can
up.
hear you. It's loading. It's loading. It's loading. This is a good blooper reel for anyone. My team. If my team is watching, you better get this part. I will go ahead and end the broadcast, and Ali and I will chat. Thanks, guys, for catching this. I know we dove in a little bit longer because we did miss last week due to Hurricane Idalia. We'll catch you guys next time. We would love to hear from you. Oh, I will share with y'all really quick. Oh boy, Ollie. I'll just have to share it with y'all via newsletter on Thursday. But we do have some swag thanks to Eddie, Launch Tally, and we have a few more awesome giveaways for anyone who shares and gets folks to sign up to our newsletter. So yeah, see you guys and have a great day.